Issues of the day under T-Radar.
Yeah, issues of the holiday period, really. T-Radar joins us from a supermarket car park this morning. G'day there, T-Radar.
Yes, just lurking in a supermarket car park as one does at this time of the year. Delightfully empty. That lovely early morning chill that you get before the heat of the day comes in, but with the promise of some scorching temperatures.
I always fancy the idea of going to a supermarket just as it opens, with no one there but the staff there to assist you, but no one to get in your way.
Yep. And all the fresh deli food, you would think, unless it's the stuff they're going, this was yesterday's, but it'll be all right till mid-morning. There's something sort of nice about a quiet supermarket at that time of day, or the end of the day. And I'd expected a bit of that actually over the Christmas period, but very busy parts of Auckland, the Mitre 10 in particular. Normally at this time of the year it's reasonably empty, absolutely packed. The refuse transfer station out in Waitakere, absolutely packed. I had to queue. Unheard of.
Crikey, at a refuse station.
Yes, so I think people were probably staying home and doing a bit of around the section tidy up rather than go away.
Although a lot of people have gone away, and camping grounds are reporting more demand this year than any in the previous decade, at least.
Yes, and I was talking to a chap who runs one of those little shuttle, airport shuttles the other day. Goes and picks you up from your house and takes you to there, and very bad times for them. He said no tourists, particularly the English. No one's really coming over, so I guess those camping grounds must be filled up with us. We're savouring the delights of our own backyard.
Well, is it part of this? I don't know. We're constantly being bombarded, whether it be on TV or radio, magazines, of this whole idea of Kiwiness and what it means to be a Kiwi, and also what it means to be a man Kiwi as well. Is this all? Are we actually absorbing this and going back to these traditional barbecue, camping at the beach? That jandal sort of mentality.
I guess maybe we are, or I don't know whether it's a symptom of the great financial crash, or the GFC, as I heard someone refer to it the other day in a sort of casual manner. And crikey, the old GFC. Yeah, no, I think maybe it is, but not everyone can afford beach houses, I suppose, and so it's a nice bit of campground action, and off people go. Yeah, nonetheless, with our jet skis and things, and our children to sort of drown at beaches and to crash into each other and all this sort of associated mayhem. It's astounding, Wammo, that you've got to have a license to drive a car, but you can just go and buy a boat and off you go.
Yeah.
Willy-nilly.
You do have to be of a certain age to be in control of a certain type of boat, though, don't you?
I believe that may be the case, actually. I think that someone sort of said the other day, and this is where I got my facts from. A man on Talkback Radio reported that he had heard it on the news, that you had to be 16. So let's take that as gospel.
Yeah.
Because there was a couple of young kids somewhere over there, I think 13, and they're out in charge of a little inflatable. And I was in the car with a lady friend of mine at the time, and I said, yeah, fair enough, that's perfectly old enough. She was aghast. She said, God, I bet you'd let your kids drive around in an outboard motor at 13. I said, well, I've got 14 years or so to wait before that happens. But yes, when I was a kid, we were driving tractors and all kinds of stuff. He said, yes, but kids get killed on farms all the time. I went, well, not all of them, obviously. I survived.
I mean, as tragic as it is, should we accept a certain amount of death over the Christmas, New Year period as attributed to holiday-type deaths?
Well, I saw somewhere a statistic, and again, I sort of just caught the tail end of a news story that said something like, was it 80% of New Zealand kids can't swim or something like that? You a strong swimmer? I
wouldn't say I'm a strong swimmer, no. I should be able to stay afloat for a little bit.
Yeah, same. People go, can you swim? You go, yep. And you go, well, I swim I probably ride a horse slightly better than I swim, and really all I do is I sit on horses and hold on for brim death when they go, and it's one of those things you think, oh yeah, I can swim, but really once you get out into the nitty gritty, you ever been caught in a rip or a near drowning situation? Terrifying.
I can't say I have. No. I tend to make sure that I can always touch the bottom.
Right. No, well, I did once. I frolicked around for a few seconds, and I got to the tranquil drowning stage. I went, hey, this isn't so bad. I don't think there were friends in the town. They sort of came and get me because I was out surfing when I was a surfer, and I think I stood up for about 1 second in my entire career. The wave sort of crashed, and I waited for the tug of the longboard on my leg to bring me back to the surface. It never happened, and I sort of came up through the foam, and I saw the surfboard riding in on the back of the wave, and I went, this is not good. And suddenly, very quickly you realise how very tiring it is to actually stay afloat in that circumstance.
And it's interesting you should say that as well, that you sort of felt that peaceful sort of thing. There's been a few studies done on what drowning actually looks like, and it's not what most people would expect it to look like. It's much more calm, much more serene.
Yes, well, that's a good way to go. Let's not recommend it.
For sure. But I'm saying if you're looking out at the lake, and someone was drowning, they may not look like they're drowning. Because you'd expect the whole thrashing around. That won't be the case.
And look, and probably part of the other problem is, I guess sometimes we're a bit embarrassed about the whole thing. We don't really want to sort of, put our hand up and say, hey, need to be rescued. But you've only got to watch a few episodes of PR Rescue to go, oh my God. I reckon those programs should be mandatory. Motorway Patrol and PR Rescue, all of those things, they should be for all tourists and anyone who wants to go to the beach should made to be watch a good couple of hours of PR Rescue.
Yeah, I do sometimes wonder that a lot of tourists, they get straight off the plane and they're straight out to a West Coast beach.
Absolutely.
Immediately shipped out there, and you're like, you're just being taken straight away to the to the extermination beach, really, essentially, aren't you?
Still, at least on a positive side, we don't have 8-metre walls of water running through our inland cities.
Crikey, that is full on over there in Australia, isn't it?
I'm just trying to figure out how high. I'm looking at the supermarket, trying to figure out how tall 8 metres is. It's fairly tall.
Yeah.
We was at Toowoomba, and they had this sort of flood event, and it swept through the town, and mother and a little kiddie swept away, and cars upturned, and that's not ideal.
No, it's not. They're calling it a inland tsunami.
Jeepers, how do they happen? How do you get that?
Well, I suppose this is the similar situation to what recently happened in India, isn't it? With the floods that happen way way from the coast, and they just take ages to kind of roll and sort of gather pace towards as they head eventually to the ocean.
Gosh, it doesn't matter how good a swimmer you are, you're not going to cope with an 8-metre wall of water.
No.
Especially not in the supermarket car park. Trying to look around and see what could save me. Nothing.
No.
These aren't going to do any good.
No. Of course, plenty of news on the international stage. A lot of talk about the shooting in Arizona and some of the causes behind it. Obviously, the shooter mentally ill, but there's a lot of finger pointing going on to the Republicans, and particularly to the Tea Party, and some of the violent rhetoric that Sarah Palin has previously used.
Yes, the crosshairs and all of that sort of thing. And I think, in some ways it's a sort of an understandable reaction to sort of blame it on that, but it's looking as if the guy is just sort of one of those sort of chaos makers, whether he's actually sort of influenced by that or not, or whether he's just some, young sort of dude who's gone and done it. I just finished reading an article this morning online, actually, about what would have happened if he had been a Muslim or had a Muslim name, and whether they would have sort of dismissed him as sort of, slightly mentally ill and in the sort of manner that they are, or whether there would have been an enormous sort of terror alert and there would have been profiling and all kinds of clampdowns and that kind of thing. Because as they say, a lot of Americans, the fear is amongst them of this Islamic threat. But most of the terror attacks, or the big ones, Oklahoma, this one for example, homegrown terrorism.
Yeah.
So. No, and I think, and in some ways, the violent rhetoric that has come from particularly the right over there in the States is absolutely outrageous and outlandish, but I'm not entirely convinced that it's tied up with this. But at the same time, it has certainly been tied up with some that they've stopped. So just a nasty sort of viciousness, the hatred and the vitriol that comes from them. It's a sort of in many ways, an essential failing of democracy. They fail to sort of, here you go, well, we lost and we'll be a bit angry about it if your particular party doesn't win power for those years. But over there, good Lord, the sense that anyone who doesn't believe what they believe is somehow actually a traitor to the nation. And, even the continuation of the birther movement, whether sort of Obama is actually American, still continues. There's cases going through the Supreme Court or through the court over there at the moment. It's army people or whatnot saying, well, I don't have to follow his orders because he's not an American, he's not actually the American president.
Yeah.
So,
crazy, huh?
Absolutely mad, but nonetheless terrible. The poor, and interestingly, look, one of the heroes of the day over there turns out, given the sort of the vitriol towards some people, he was a homosexual Hispanic, the young aide to the senator who saved her life. So, you know, they've got the big crackdown over there in Arizona. They're saying, you know, because of his looks, he would be racially profiled. I said, look, do you have any ID to crack down on the illegal immigrants? And it was only last week that they passed the law sort of repealing the don't ask, don't tell in the military.
That's true.
So there you go. Look at that. A wonderful sort of example. And what struck me the most, I don't know if you saw the interview with the young girl, the 9-year-old girl born on 9/11, who was caught up in it and killed. Her father was on the television speaking, incredibly composed for someone whose daughter had just been killed. Like, how could you do it? Do you think it's an American thing? You know,
I think
it's
a human. It's probably a human thing, just in complete shock.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. I'd imagine. A very tragic story about that young girl. She was featured in a book of children representing 50 states who were born on September. Sorry, was it September? Yeah, 9/11. The fact that her mum also took her to this rally because she was interested in politics and she had just become a member of the school council.
Yeah, that's right. God. Yeah, if you put it in a movie, the script would be thrown back at you as being too outlandish. Terrible. What a terrible way to start the year, the whole thing. Let's hope we have a better year.
Yeah.
We haven't got much time, obviously. It's 2012. Next year it all finishes, so make the most of it.
I was going to say that.
I saw a ring yesterday, actually, in a shop. It had the Mayan calendar on it. I went, I should probably get that. You know, then I'll know.
Just to remind you every day.
The minute in the day. What to do. So throw the diets out the window. Throw, all your resolutions. Doesn't matter. It's all going to finish in a year and a bit.
Yeah. I can imagine you wearing that ring, pushing the your shopping cart round the supermarket, and every now and again you'd glance down at your hand that was holding the handle of the shopping cart.
That's
and
right.
You'd be saying to yourself,
that, non-recyclable trans fat and whatnot in my supermarket trolley and thinking it doesn't matter.
Well, we'd be saying,
None of it matters.
well, I won't have to do this for much longer.
We'll speak again next week.
T-Radar there. It's